Paradox Interactive, a game company based in Sweden, worth over $1 billion. The leading strategy game company with notable games being the Hearts of Iron, Crusader Kings, EU and Victoria series. I'm a fan of all Paradox games, as are thousands and thousands of others. So surely this is a company with a successful future, and surely they will only continue to improve from here. Or is there something disgusting just underneath the surface? So let's take a look at its recent history. Paradox's most recent games developed by Paradox include Victoria 3, Crusader Kings 3 and Imperator Rome. Firstly, released on the 25th of April 2019. Imperator Rome was a new title for Paradox. It's based in 304 BC, a time where the Mediterranean saw a balance of power between the Greek Hellenistic kingdoms in the east and Carthage in the west, but was shattered when conflicts between Carthage and Rome arose. This time frame proposed an interesting and unique playstyle to new players. The game gained large amounts of hype, with a release day player base of 42,000 people. Sounds like a triumph, right? Well, as soon as Imperator Rome was released, people bought the game with high hopes, and within minutes, people were disappointed. The Steam reviews were filled with negative comments, and people were rightfully outraged by the game at release, and these negative reviews could never be beaten back by Paradox, despite everything they tried. They updated the game and improved on many aspects, but it would never be enough to revive a game with so much promise, yet such poor execution. The game was then left to rot with zero development by Paradox by just May 2021, only 2 years after the game had been released. But this was just a one-off, right? Crusader Kings 3, being the third of its series, already held a large fanbase. And did this fanbase receive a great game? On the 1st of September 2020, the highly anticipated title was released, and due to the extensive hype surrounding the game, almost 100,000 people hopped in. Crusader Kings 3 released with people screaming from the rooftops. It was a major improvement from the previous title, with one review stating, from a Paradox fan who tried CK3 but bounced off it hard, not because they didn't like it, because they didn't have a bloody clue what was going on. Therefore, they massively improved the experience of the general gamer, and this, along with the unique role-playing aspect of the game, made it a perfect title for people to get their teeth stuck into. The title hasn't gone without issues, however. One DLC, named The Legends of the Dead, that introduced the ideas of legends and illness, received large levels of negative feedback for the high frequency of plagues that would negatively affect the world over and over and over again. So we've now explored how Paradox has been successful and how they have faltered within their previous two titles. However, Victoria 3 is their most recent game to be developed, and as many as you know, I am a creator within this field. If you'd like to see some of that, please go subscribe. Victoria 2 was the place where players could enjoy a game during the colonial era of the 19th century and take control of a country, guiding it through industrialization, political reforms, military conquest, and colonialization. The title was released in 2012, so the successor had to ensure that current and new players would enjoy the title. This was not the case. From my personal experience, the release of Victoria 3 felt much like the release of the previously mentioned Imperator Rome. These reviews at the time were very negative, but these reviews weren't just the general player that disliked a complex and confusing game that many Paradox fans love, but instead the Victoria 2 and other hardcore Paradox fans gave extremely constructive feedback. One person said, looking at it as a sequel to Victoria 2 is a disappointment in most ways. The unique economic system is gone. Nothing in your country happens without your input, and the AI is incapable of building their economy. The main issue here was the removal of depth. Paradox's core audience was not happy. But this was over 2 years ago, and a lot has changed and improved, right? Well, Paradox released a 2 years anniversary video a few weeks back, where they showcased the biggest achievements of this time. Let me list them. Legitimacy, autonomous investment, agitators, character interaction and government petitions, a game-themed selector, Vancouver Island becomes an island, military formations, companies, local prices, migration rework, census data panel, tabbed outliner, building ownership revision, foreign investment, building panel, power block, lobbies, subject interaction, earning recognition. So that's everything so far. As I read that list, I feel genuinely disappointed. Where is the large change over 2 years of development? Let's just say, I don't think a game should be bragging about Vancouver Island becoming an island, or the addition of the tabbed outliner. These basic features are nothing, but for it to be on the biggest changes video of the game, it's not enough. But it's okay. The newest 1.8 update that launched today is out. And what did it bring? It brought you discrimination, improved companies, and famine. And I had the luxury of testing these 3 features, and in my personal opinion, they add very little to your average game. You'll end up playing in the same way you did before the update. And now that the game has been out for a couple of hours, it's not just me. The DLC and the update has been getting many negative reviews, and they are all flooding in. And devs not listening to community/player requests. Warfare overhaul over famine system. Horrible focus by the development team. I have an idea. Why don't you guys ignore all the players' concerns and sell us a $63 Western New Zealand DLC? Fix Warfare. This game is bordering on being a scam. I just dislike the fact that it takes nearly 5 years to have a full game with some stuff that could have been included in base game from day A of release. We want Warfare system in place, not some corporate Memphis style minority treatment and DLCs for regions that are never played by majority of the player base. You should first finish Europe instead of charging us this money for some flavor BS pack. Don't get me wrong though, I appreciate all the updates and support that Paradox gives to the game, but I can't help the feel of fear. Do you remember Imperator Rome, the game that died a terrible death? Does it sound familiar to you? A game launching with very negative reviews, a game that gained half-baked updates. Well, it's not just the feeling of similarity, it's the stats. Taking a look at SteamDB, we can see that despite Victoria 3's larger player base of around 10,000 players, it is massively dropped and doesn't look like these lackluster updates are going to help. Imperator had around 2,000 players when they shut it down. This similarity fills a creator like me, a Victoria 3 creator, with fear, and should fill you with fear too. Do you really want Victoria 3 to die? Do you really want your favourite game to be the smallest Paradox title? Well, I want the game to succeed. My dream is for Victoria 3 to be a strong, standalone title, with players coming in daily. With my eyes, there is only one way that Paradox can do this. Updates. Updates that bring more, better, larger, game-changing content. I live streamed yesterday, and I called a fellow YouTuber afterwards, and came up with a few future ideas for Victoria 3. I was wondering what you all thought. Firstly, crime. What if Victoria 3 had criminals? Hear me out. Criminals that could be squashed by not just higher institution levels, but extra funding into states' policing. These criminals would reduce the effectiveness of buildings, robbing population, and potentially temporarily destroying your buildings. This mechanic would mix politics with the social aspect. Imagine London shuts down due to extremely inflated crime. I'd love to see this. Healthcare. Why does private healthcare cost the exact same as public healthcare? The whole idea of public healthcare is that it's run by the government, while private doesn't cost the government as much or anything. I feel that this could be changed so that private costs a little less, or include this into the budget. Furthermore, I would love to see more buildings within Victoria 3. Why does Vicky have universities but not hospitals? I'd be perfectly happy having an extra complication and expense by having to build my own hospitals. Make it a state-by-state issue. Just like in real life. Devastation. Devastation that actually devastates. I love the idea of industries shutting down and buildings getting destroyed during any level of military incursion. This might need to include a half-destroyed building type that can be repaired, just like in Hoi 4. Stockpiles. Stockpiles! Guys, the addition of stockpiles would be an absolute game changer. Currently, whenever you're not at war, the small arms, munition plants and other military-related buildings have very poor productivity. And the only way to fix this is through subsidising the industry. However, this costs money for zero reward. With the addition of a stockpile, you'll be able to build up military goods for your country. If you run out of stocks, the country would suffer. Military supplies would decrease. With stockpiles, you can then leverage countries through trade by building up a trade route and depleting their stockpiles. You'll be able to subsidise trade routes to build them up above the current needs. Stockpiles would allow for food to be a real mechanic. But these are just some ideas I've had while playing the game. And I believe that the primary issue with Victoria 3 is the lack of decisions to make. Not enough challenges to encounter, and the feeling of repetitive gameplay. This cannot and will not be fixed within one update, but I feel it can be solved with all your community feedback and ideas. So what can we do? I've already reached out to the development team, sharing my thoughts on Victoria 3, but I cannot do this alone. I need you. I need you to subscribe. I need you to send your feedback, share your thoughts, push this video, and let everyone know that we can save Victoria 3 together. A game guided by the community. Victoria 3, goodbye.